Good afternoon. I'm calling to order the House Committee on Consumer Protection and Commerce. It is Thursday, March 30th, 2023. It's 2 p.m. We are in conference room 329. We'll be limiting testimony to 2 minutes. For those who are testifying via Zoom, please mute yourself and keep your video turned off until it is your turn to testify. If you are having technical difficulties, you can contact our IT staff using the chat function. Firstly on the agenda, we have SB 516, SD1, HD1 relating to hemp. First to testify on this measure, we have Kenneth Fink, Director for the Hawaii State Department of Health, with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Lori Nagatoshi with the Department of Health. We respectfully offer comments, and we defer to our colleagues in the Department of Agriculture to maintain the authenticity of Hawaii products similar to Kona coffee products and to hemp products. And I'll be here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Next we have Robert Bentz from the Hawaii Sustainable Farms in support on Zoom. Not present. Okay, we have written testimony in support from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, Kanalani Ohana Farms, Hawaii Farmers Union United, Hawaii Farm Bureau, the Stone Eaters, and several individuals in support. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Please go ahead.
Yes, aloha, Chair. This is Gail Byrne-Baber with Hawaii Hemp Farmers Association. Our testimony was late. I apologize. Is it okay if I go ahead and testify?
Sure. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. We're strong supporters of this bill, and it's very important for hemp farmers. We have a flooded hemp market, especially with regard to CBD, and our competitors are folks out of Florida with a brand called Kona Gold. There's a number of Hawaii branding products all over Hawaii and on the mainland that don't use any Hawaii hemp in their products. So this is really a transparency for consumer bill. Also, I would like to address the Department of Health comments. They're asking that the labeling provisions that had to do with Department of Health be deleted. We respectfully request that those be maintained in there, at least through conference. For this reason, currently, all CBD product labeling is regulated by the Department of Health. So folks within and without the state that are trying to manufacture products and label them to Hawaii rules and regs and specs would be looking at the Department of Health rules. So someone from out of state or within the state might miss those if we don't also include them within those labeling specs, Department of Health. So just for now, I'd respectfully ask that you leave the lines in there. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you. I know there's a person here to testify on this measure. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I guess we might have been late. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture. The department wants to stand on its written testimony in support of the bill and offers comments that we are ready, willing to implement this bill, but not able at this time because we would need additional staff. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members, are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to SB 637 SD1 HD1 relating to hemp. First to testify on this measure, Department of Agriculture, Sharon Hurd, in support.
Good afternoon again. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture. The department offers comments on this bill, stands by its submitted testimony, wanting to point out, highlight that the respectfully does not agree with the statement regarding overregulation of production. On page 2, line 3, DOA does not regulate farming of hemp within the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kenneth Fink, Director for the Hawaii State Department of Health, with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Lori Nagatoshi with the Department of Health. We apologize for the late testimony. And we just wanted to point out that this amendment that requires documentation, the department still feels that hemp processing should still be done in an enclosed facility that is subject to good manufacturing practices. And the hemp processors are still required to process in an enclosed facility. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Next, we have Robert Bentz from the Hawaii Sustainable Farms in support on Zoom. Not present. Okay. Members, we have written testimony in support from the Hawaii Farmers Union United, Hawaii Farms Bureau, the Stone Eaters, and several individuals, all in support. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure in person or on Zoom?
Yes, this is Gail Byrne-Baber with Hawaii Hemp Farmers Association. Apologize for our late testimony, and hopefully you have our written offered amendments there that we worked with Senator Gabbard's office on, and I believe Representative Gates' office is aware of this as well. This will help clarify the concerns that Department of Health has, because in no way are we saying that hemp shouldn't be processed in an enclosed facility. With regards to the paragraph that they point out in their testimony, we completely concur. Processing needs to be secured in an enclosed facility. The amendment we're offering clarifies that, because basically a preposition "or" got dropped at the end of the second phrase. So I'm going to read into the record the amendment we're offering, and then I'll explain a little bit more. So this is for page 4, line 7, paragraph 4. Documentation that the indoor facility and planned hemp processing operation complies with all zoning ordinances, comma, building codes, comma, and fire codes, semicolon. And here's the beginning of the amendment. Or documentation that the processing does not include heat or volatile compounds or gases under pressure, such as cold water extraction, and is in an enclosed indoor facility that is exempt from building permits and building code requirements pursuant to section 4688, or is in an enclosed indoor facility in a food hub and agricultural park. So those amendments address the DOH's concerns with regard to being enclosed. We always intended it to be that way. It was just that a preposition got dressed. What this does is restore farmers' rights to process hemp as they were doing for years before new DOH rules were put in place in September of 21 in agricultural buildings and structures that most farms have, that are retrofitted containers secured to the ground, one-story masonry buildings. We still have to meet good manufacturing processes and all those other things, and we love the stringent testing that we have for our products. But right now, because the current rules prohibit us from processing in anything but a permitted building, that eliminates a lot of farmers who do very safe processing, like water extraction. That's like, it's almost like washing cucumbers. It's that safe. So this bill is certainly needed. I mean, farmers are basically dead in the water in terms of being able to do a lot of processing in this state, because there's only a couple of registered.
Your 2-minute time limit is up. Can you please summarize your testimony?
Yeah, this bill is needed, and hopefully you can make the amendments that I read into the record and that are in our written testimony and that were sent in email to the committee on Tuesday, and that will, I believe, eliminate the Department of Health concerns. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Actually, I do have a question for the Department of Health. So we just heard testimony from Hawaii hemp farmers and their recommended changes to this measure. I'm not too sure if you had time to actually read this.
I didn't, I'm sorry.
Okay, so maybe we could go over this at a later time then. No questions then, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, any further questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll be moving on to SB 746, SD1, HD1 relating to coffee labeling. First to testify on this measure, we have Sharon Hurd, chairperson for the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Nakashima, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture. The department supports the intent of the measure and offers comments. Again, that we're ready and willing, but the ability to do so would require additional staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Bruce Corker from Rancho Aloha Coffee Farms in support on Zoom.
Chair?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair Nakashima, members of the committee. My name is Bruce Corker. I am a coffee farmer in Hawaii County, and I strongly support SB 746 as a step in the right direction toward truth in labeling for Hawaii-grown agricultural products and for the protection of consumers. For more than 30 years, Hawaii has been the only region anywhere in the world, let me repeat that, the only region anywhere in the world to authorize the use of regional names on its agricultural products with only 10% genuine content and not even requiring the statement on the label as to the origin of the other 90%. Hawaii needs to protect its specialty agricultural products from false and deceptive labeling in the same way that Idaho protects Idaho potatoes, Vermont protects its maple syrup, California protects its wine, France protects its champagne from deceptive labeling. By requiring full disclosure of what's in a package of a, quote, Hawaii coffee blend, close quote, this bill is an important step toward truth in labeling principles. Please protect consumers from fraud and deception. Please protect the integrity of the Hawaii brand of our agricultural products. Please pass 746. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Suzanne Schreiner from Synergistic Hawaii Agriculture Council in support on Zoom. Not present. We'll be moving on to Chris Manfredi from the Hawaii Coffee Association in support on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Chris Manfredi. I'm the Executive Director of the Hawaii Coffee Association. We support the intent of this measure. We outlined some proposed amendments in our written testimony. Primarily, the definition of a prepared and prepackaged beverage currently reads, ready-to-drink coffee beverage means a prepackaged beverage that consists of or includes coffee that is sold in a prepared form that can be immediately consumed upon purchase. This definition would also include coffee served in disposable cups to consumers by, for example, a barista who is pre-preparing a coffee drink for immediate consumption. So we ask that the definition be amended to exempt those types of products. Also, the standard of measure throughout the bill refers to percent by weight, yet it relates to ready-to-drink beverages, which are often measured in fluid ounces. So the standard of measure is not consistent with normal practice. That's our testimony. We thank you for hearing it, and we're here for questions. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you. Next, we have Wendy Laros from the Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce in support on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair Nakashima, Vice Chair Siyama, and the House Committee on Consumer Protection and Commerce. My name is Wendy Laros. I'm the President and CEO of the Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce. Our chamber supports Senate Bill 746 SD1 HD1 relating to coffee labeling. With 450 member businesses and organizations, the Kona Kohala Chamber works to enhance the quality of life for our community through a strong, sustainable economy on Hawaii Island. Our mission is to provide leadership and advocacy for a successful business environment in West Hawaii. Protecting Hawaii's brand is vital to the success of our local economy, and this is especially true with the well-earned reputation of quality coffee grown in Kona. This bill expands labeling and advertising requirements, as well as requires disclosure of geographic origins by percentage on the label of the coffee blends. Additionally, the bill prohibits the use of the term all Hawaiian in labeling and advertising if the roasted or instant coffee is not produced entirely from green beans grown and processed in Hawaii. We believe these requirements and the others that are in the bill will strengthen our local economy while protecting Hawaii's brand reputation. We ask that legislators please pass SB 746. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Okay, members, we have written testimony in support from members of the Hawaii County Council, Rebecca Villegas and Heather Kimball. Supportive testimony from the Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action. Ma'alahi Farms, Kona Bay Farm, Hawaii Island Forest Stewards, Kalihi Kona Farm, Hawaii Farm Bureau, Hawaii Farmers Union United, The Forest Ends LLC, Kona Coffee Farms Association, Hawaii's Thousands Friends, Absolute Palette LLC, Chamber of Sustainable Commerce, Sinotech Corporation, and several individuals all in support, and written testimony with comments from Kanalani Ohana Farm. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members, are there any questions? Seeing none. We'll be moving on to the next measure, SB 1340 SD2 HD1, relating to the practice of behavior analysis. First to testify on this measure, we have Director Kenneth Fink from the Hawaii State Department of Health. In support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. Mary Brogan with the Department of Health. We stand in strong support of this measure and offer an amendment. There appears to have been a drafting error, which transposed the word implement and design, and it should be implement. It was correct in the committee report, but in the new draft, it was transposed, so we offer that amendment.
Thank you.
Thank
Next,
you.
we have Laverne Moore from the Hawaii State Teachers Association in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Laverne Moore speaking on behalf of Osotui, Junior President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. The HST supports this measure. We want to make it very clear. Our special education teachers, of course, may implement applied behavior analysis plans, but they should not be the ones who design, create, nor monitor the ABA plans. Teachers teach. School psychologists, ABA, they design, they create, and they monitor the plan. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next, we have Keith Hayashi, Superintendent for the Department of Education in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. Annie Kalama, Department of Education, Office of Student Support Services, Assistant Superintendent, offering testimony on behalf of Keith Hayashi. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure, but requesting one amendment that sections 3 of the bill be removed due to it appearing to be redundant. So we're here to answer questions if you have any. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next, we have Daintry Bartoldes, Executive Administrator for the State Council on Developmental Disabilities in support. Not here. Okay, we'll be moving on to Shelley Choi, Program Specialist from DCCA Professional and Vocational Licensing Division with comments. Thank you. Next, we have Susan Rocco from the Special Education Advisory Council in support.
Hi, Chair and Vice Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. We strongly support this measure, and I am Susan Rocco, representing Martha Guinan, who is the Chair of the Special Ed Advisory Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Hawaii Association for Behavior Analysis. Hawaii Association, there we go, with comments.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Kristen Koba-Bird on behalf of the Hawaii Association for Behavior Analysis. We'll stand on our written comments, but echoing Department of Health's testimony for the amendment for the editing error on design and implement, and available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we also have written testimony in support from Full Life. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to SB 691 SD1 HD1 relating to efficiency standards. First to testify on this measure, we have Mark Glick, Chief Energy Officer from the Hawaii State Energy Office with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair Nakashima, Vice Chair Sayama, committee members. I'm Howard Wigg with the Hawaii State Energy Office. We just got a report today from the Appliance Standards Awareness Project estimating that the cumulative savings from adopting this bill by 2040 will be $58 million. That's staying in the pockets of Hawaii. Also, this passage of this bill will bring us closer to 100% clean energy. We were the first state in the nation to declare that goal. This will get us closer. And finally, there are other states that have passed similar legislation. This puts us right in the league with the most progressive states in the nation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Jody Robinson from Blue Planet Foundation in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Jody Robinson with Blue Planet. You have our testimony in strong support of this measure. Energy efficiency remains the cheapest and cleanest way for us to reach our 100% clean energy goal. This is an appliance efficiency standards bill that would essentially adopt minimum efficiency standards for household products sold in the state, meeting minimum energy and/or water efficiency. We want to highlight some of the changes made in the HD1 and really mahalo Rep. Lowen for her thoughtful and intentional amendments to the bill to address some of the testimony that has been presented in the past. We do want to recommend one kind of small technical amendment. It's in our testimony to just remove the reference to air purifiers and EV equipment because that was removed in the HD1. So it's unnecessary in the measure as we move forward. And attached to our testimony is a sign-on letter from organizations. There are 17 organizations who signed on in support of passing this bill. And we also updated a fact sheet on the bill to include the products in the HD1 and what some of the savings estimates would be if Hawaii decides to expand our list of appliance standards and adopt this measure. I'm available to answer any questions, and thank you for hearing the bill.
Thank you. Next, we have Caroline Carl from the Hawaii Energy in support on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Chester Carson for Caroline Carl. On behalf of Hawaii Energy, you have a written testimony in support, which we stand on and are here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ted Boland from the Climate Protectors Hawaii in support. Not here. We'll be moving on to Brian Fady from Appliance Standards Awareness Project and support on Zoom.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair and members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony. I'd also like to just briefly clarify two issues that were raised in other testimony on the bill. First, I just note the federal government does not already have standards for the products proposed in the bill. And really, to the contrary, part of the reason these standards are being proposed is because there are not federal standards for them. And then also, there seems to be a little confusion about the efficiency levels proposed for the water fixtures. So there's two in the bill. It's urinals and toilets. And the bill proposes the same water efficiency levels as what's called the WaterSense program. If you've heard of Energy Star, the WaterSense program is like that, but for water products. And these are very well vetted efficiency levels that industry has had full input in the development of. 10 other states have adopted standards for these water fixtures, and there has not been health or safety concerns raised there. So we just wanted to provide those clarifications and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tina Yamaki from Retail Merchants of Hawaii in opposition on Zoom. Not present. Okay, members, we have written testimony in support from Climate Protectors Hawaii, S350 Hawaii, Wild Kids, Ulupono Initiative, and several individuals in support. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to SB 478, SD2 HD1 relating to telecommunications and cable industry information reporting. First to testify on this measure, we have Jamie Hsu, Acting Administrator for DCCA Cable Television Division, in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Department stands on his written testimony in support, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Rebecca Lieberman from Charter Communications in support on Zoom. Oh, right here.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Rebecca Lieberman here on behalf of Charter Communications. We stand on our written testimony in strong support of this bill and are available for any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next, we have Stephen Golden from Hawaii Telecom in support.
I'm going to stand on a written testimony in support, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Audrey Suga Nakagawa, AARP Hawaii, in opposition on Zoom.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Audrey Suganakawa, Advocacy Director for AARP, and AARP stands on its testimony in opposition. Primarily, our reason is that we feel it's really premature for the state to relinquish its jurisdictional oversight in receiving data from the providers, and why we appreciate the enhanced data collection and mapping from FCC. We think it's still best that the state be involved in collecting the data as well, and so that they can work together with FCC to ensure that consumers can have a state entity to reach out to if there's any issues, as well as trying to really enhance the entire mapping system for the state, broadband mapping system for the state. So thank you for the opportunity to testify in opposition.
Thank you. Okay, members, we have written testimony in support from Maui Chamber of Commerce, DBED, and CTIA. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to SB 823 SD2 HD1 relating to motor vehicle registration. First to testify on this measure. Okay, no one. We have written testimony in support from Operating Engineers Local 3 and numerous individuals. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, we'll be moving on to SB 1378 SD1 relating to unlicensed care homes. First to testify on this measure, we have Kenneth Fink, Director for the Department of Health and Support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Keith Ridley, Chief of the Office of Healthcare Assurance, on behalf of the Director Fink. The department stands in strong support of this admin bill, and I just wanted to point out that the department appreciates and accepts the technical amendments and clarifications that had been made by the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services. We'll stand on the remainder of our written testimony, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. We have written testimony with comments from the Department of Human Services and an individual in support. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none. Finally, we have SB 1381 SD1 HD1 relating to the repeal of Section 328-106 Hawaii Revised Statutes. First to testify on this measure, we have Kenneth Fink, Director for the Hawaii Department of Health and Support. Okay. We have one written testimony in opposition from an individual. Are there any other persons here to testify on this measure? Seeing none. Okay. We'll be taking a short recess for decision making. Recess.
Okay, Committee on Consumer Protection and Commerce, Thursday, March 30th, 2023, conference room 329, reconvening for decision-making on our agenda today. First up is SB 516, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 1, related to hemp. Members, on this particular measure, what I want to do is create some consistency in the bill and note that if it's 100% grown and processed in Hawaii, it can be labeled all Hawaiian. Other hemp products not meeting the 100% grown or and process can follow the guidelines in HRS 486-119, which is a Department of Ag criteria for the Hawaii-made products. So also, throughout the bill, there was a term origin, and it's not clear what type of jurisdiction or state or U.S. county or country it identifies. And so you indicate that if it is not Hawaii in origin, then the state or country which the product was, other parts of the product were secured from, would also be noted on the label. And finally, we will include the proposed amendments by the Hawaii hemp farmers. Members, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
Voting on SB 516 SD1 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair, Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Amato?
Aye.
Representative Belatti? Excused. Representative Hashem?
Aye.
Representative Hussey Burdick?
Aye.
Representative Gates?
Aye.
Representative Lowen?
Aye.
Representative Onishi?
Aye.
Representative Tam?
Aye.
Representative Purick?
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. On Senate Bill 637, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 1, also related to hemp. We are going to adopt amendments from the Hawaii hemp farmers. Also, on page 4, line 15, we're going to add, or is an enclosed indoor facility in a food hub, as described in section 205-2, or an agricultural park. And on page 3, line 5 to 8, delete the requirements to amend language. Members, questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
Voting on SB 637 SD1 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative Belatti. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. On Senate Bill 746, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 1, related to coffee labeling. On page 6, line 2 and 14, and page 10, line 21, grown and processed in Hawaii. I'd like to make consistent the language, grown and processed in Hawaii. Again, otherwise, HRS 486-119 will apply, which is the Department of Ag standard for the ag labeling in made in Hawaii. Members, any questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Also on page 8, line 20 through page 9, line
line 3, we also would like to note that the intent is meant to apply to inner packaging or inner wrapping of roasted coffee, instant coffee, or ready-to-drink beverages. We are also exempting, however, we are exempting from this the coffee cups served in coffee shops and not requiring them to label those in any way. Members, questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Voting on SB 746 SD1 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative Bellotti. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Senate Bill 1340, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 1, related to the practice of behavior analysis. I'd like to adopt the Department of Health amendments and also Department of Education amendment to remove Section 3 from the bill. Also, other technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Voting on SB 1340 SD2 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative Bellotti. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Senate Bill 691, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 1, related to efficiency standards. Just recommendations that on page 7, line 6, the reference to any amended regulations be changed to rules to be adopted by the Chief Energy Officer. So we will make that change. Also on page 13, line 19 to 20, we will remove air purifiers and electric vehicle supply equipment from the requirements of this measure. And references to these products also on lines 19 to 20 should also be deleted. Members, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting no because the Retail Merchants of Hawaii shared testimony against it and shared some reasons how it might not be necessary.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Voting on SB 691 SD1 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative Bellotti and the no vote from Representative Purick. Any other members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Senate Bill 478, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 1, related to telecommunications and cable industry information reporting. Members, this bill does contain a defective effective date, so we can further assess the concerns of AARP. Otherwise, we will move the measure as is. Members, questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as is.
Voting on SB 478 SD1 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass as is, noting the excused absence of Representative Bellotti. Any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Reservations from Representative Motto. Okay, thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Senate Bill 823, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 1, relating to motor vehicle registration. Chair's recommendation is that we defer this measure. Moving on, Senate Bill 1378, related, Senate Draft 1, related to unlicensed care homes. On page 3, lines 2 to 4, Chair would like to change the level to negligently instead of knowingly. That creates a higher standard on the part of the care home to be certain that they don't that they know more about the standards in the care home being transferred to. Also, subsection B of section 321-487 HRS may need to be amended to provide that notwithstanding section A to the contrary, the healthcare provider or healthcare facility shall not be fined under section if the patient or anyone authorized to make decisions on behalf of the patient requests the transfer to be to a uncertified or unlicensed care facility, and two, the care facility becomes uncertified or unlicensed after the referral or transfer. Also that in 3, healthcare provider or healthcare facilities refers or transfers the patient in good faith to a care home without actual proof or knowledge that the care home is uncertified or unlicensed. Okay, members, any questions or concerns?
Chair.
Representative Onishi.
This bill has a effective date of July 1st, 2023. Are you intending to keep the effective date?
Oh, no, we should defect the date to June 30, 3000. Thank you, Representative Onishi. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Voting on 1378 SD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Knowing the excused absence of Representative Bellotti, any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Finally, Senate Bill 1381, Senate Draft 1, House Draft 1, relate to repeal of Section 328-106, Hawaii Revised Statutes. Chair's recommendation is that we pass this unamended. Members, questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
Voting on SB 1381 SD1 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Knowing the excused absence of Representative Bellotti, any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned.